Everybody, and welcome to week number 6. We're getting towards the end here, so we're going to cover off on the last topics here in the next couple of weeks. So this week we're going to talk specifically about the fourth of the 4 Ps, which is generally called promotion. It really breaks out into more than one area, but we'll talk about it as the fourth of the 4 Ps. And promotion is essentially comes down to making sure that you are delivering the right message to the right person at the right time in the right place. Easy, right? And don't spend much money doing it. So it is challenging. It is, and not surprisingly, we rely heavily on AI and big data to help us make those decisions, because the number of channels that you can promote through have just proliferated like crazy in the last certainly 20 years. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is read Chapter 11 and take the quiz by Thursday the 10th. Then you also want to read Chapter 12 and take the quiz by Sunday the 13th. And then read the chapter on social media, because it's an important topic and it's worth reading about from a marketing management perspective. Good news is there's no quiz there, so you only have the 2 quizzes to do this week. And then make sure you submit your milestone 3. You want to do that by Sunday the 13th. And I put out a module on milestone 4 to give you an idea what's coming up with that, the instructions and that type of thing. So that's what you're doing for this week. Let me move this over a little bit. I'm going to point out there's some external content that is worth looking at, and that's this thing here. And I'm going to show you the link here. It's under Visual Capitalist. If you click on that, it's a really great infographic that talks about how advertising spending has changed and where people are, and it's reflective on how people are receiving promotional messages. So it's a really good summary kind of view of it. And I know it's not exactly up to date, but it gives you a real good idea of how things have been evolving and changing. Sorry about this one up here, the one on AI and pricing. That really should have been last week. If you want to look it over, feel free. It's an interesting article. And then again, make sure you submitted milestone 3 by this coming Sunday. So let's take a look at the chapters and the information that we're going to talk about. Chapter 11 covers advertising messages and marketing communications. So it's going to be more about the message than it is going to be about the where and that type of thing. So we're going to talk about what advertising is, why it's important, what types of goals are sought after from advertising campaigns, and this is a brief overview of it. The goals can be pretty specific. And then, how you go about designing advertising messages. If you've taken any psychology classes, you'll appreciate some of the background that's being reflected here and how advertising is done. So definitely look at those things. And then another view towards how advertising is evaluated. And believe me, this is a very complex and growing subject in terms of exactly how advertising is evaluated. So those are the things that are going to be talked about in this chapter. So, again, if you want to go by the learning objectives to help you kind of take notes and that type of thing. So, the first learning objective is defining what advertising is. You can describe the importance of advertising and the short and long and term effects. Describe the different goals of an advertising campaign. Describe different kinds of advertisements. And measure the advertising efficacy. It was a very important subject as well. As a marketing manager, you will certainly have that as one of your very important goals. Okay, so keeping this within our managerial framework, we are on the last of the 4 Ps here with Chapter 11. So let's take a look at Chapter 12. Now, Chapter 12 is more about the where and when and that type of thing, types of decision making around promotional strategy. So, what kind of media decisions are made in advertising promotional campaigns, and it's going to just describe some of the things that are looked at now. I'm going to preface this, real quickly by saying these rules are changing, and they're changing pretty dramatically with all the data that we have. and artificial intelligence coming up, coming into play. It is definitely not done the way it has traditionally been done. It's just too complex to try to do it that way. So we're going to get a little bit of a rear look, although I think they attempted to bring it up to date in this particular text. So we're going to talk about reach and frequency. We're going to talk about media scheduling and planning. And then you're going to think about integrated marketing communications is basically because we're going to be multi-channel marketers, and that means we're going to send our message out via a whole myriad of channels working together. But having said that, each one of them has its own decision making that needs to be done. So there should be some media comparisons. By the way, this is where that guide that I was talking about in the supplemental material really would help clarify. So compare different media types. Talking about beyond advertising, because there's a lot of different things that are being done that are not what we would call traditional advertising. So, and again, I think all those things are super important, and they're definitely changing how the mix, if you will, the promotional mix is managed. And so those are all very important pieces. So again, if we want to go by the learning objectives, you want to be able to discuss optimal media choices for the placements for your brand's advertising. It's a very complex subject, but you get the feel for it. Describe the coordination efforts of marketers across integrated marketing communications. Consistency in there is important to have. Explain the various methods on that media choices can be evaluated for subsequent planning and budgeting. And again, we're just kind of scratching the surface on this. It gets very, very involved. So again, within our managerial framework, we are talking about the last of the 4 Ps, and that is promotion. And that kind of wraps up our managerial framework, really, with this chapter. Okay, I'm going to do a real brief overview of Chapter 13, and then we'll move on. And I'm going to apologize because I had some difficulty getting to that part of the text. We're having internet issues here in our neighborhood, so I'm going to just wrap it up then and say that Chapter 13 you're going to learn about the role of social media, and social media is a unique animal in that there's advertising certainly that's done on it, but there's also a lot of promotional usages that are integrated within the social media itself. And it's created a whole new field of media management. And so typically people, if they have a consumer product in particular, have a very active social media marketing effort. Anyway, so that's all of it, but the good news is you don't have a quiz on that. So that's it. That's it for for week number 6. And if you have any questions, let me know, and best of luck.